It's Thursday, June 10th, and it's time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Law enforcement authorities in Barbados are reporting a 26% drop in overall crime for this year. In an exclusive interview with Barbados Today, Deputy Commissioner of Police Erwin Boyce disclosed that between January 1st and June 5th, 2021, overall cases of reported crime stood at 2,228 compared to 3,078 for the same period last year. Emmanuel Joseph picks up the story.
Boyce sought to assure Barbadians that while the wide publicity given to the incidents of violent crime may make it appear that their situation is worse than it really is, it is more an issue of the fear of crime that has actually risen in the country. He said the apparent rise in crime doesn't match what the data is showing. The Deputy Commissioner said while the police understand the fear of the public, he wants to assure the country that members of the force are working assiduously to reduce the level of fear by arresting and charging the perpetrators of crime. He said some of the shootings, which are about one in a given week or two at the most, are not always against a person, but that the way the information is put into the general public domain, the impression is given that shootings are taking place every day or every night. The senior police officer also announced that a number of strategies have been introduced or intensified to tackle crime, including a heightened police presence in all areas, more random vehicle checks, and placing greater focus on intelligence gathering operations to track down those who have committed crime or are likely to commit crime. Boyce also expressed grave concern over an increase in rape, particularly the rape of minors by relatives or by people who are known to the victims. With regards to gun-related crime, the overall stats were unavailable at the time of this report. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
A review of the Employment Rights Act is in the final stages, and new rules are being prepared for the Employment Rights Tribunal. Word of this from Labour Minister Colin Jordan, who warned yet again that government would be going after employers who are found to be in breach of the Severance Payments Act by reneging on severance payments for former employees. The minister made the comments as he addressed the annual general meeting of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association yesterday.
Work is continuing to take place in order to review and improve the legislation on our statute books. We are currently in the final stages of reviewing the Employment Rights Act and preparing rules for the Employment Rights Tribunal. And we've had representation over the years about areas that are seen to be deficient where the Employment Rights Act is concerned. As a ministry, we are responding to that, and we have reviewed all the submissions made. We have our own positions based on those submissions, and will shortly be coming back to our social partners on what we are recommending on the way forward. The Employment Rights Act has never had rules for the operation of the Employment Rights Tribunal, and so we are also preparing rules that should improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of the Employment Rights Tribunal.
The Ministry of Education has received requests from 1,643 students to defer sitting this year's Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, while there have been 130 Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination deferrals. Deputy Chief Education Officer and Caribbean Examinations Council Local Registrar Dr. Roderick Rudder said CXC has given students who believe they are not ready the option of deferring writing the examinations until 2022. He said the Ministry of Education has developed a strategy to assist those students.
While students have indicated their desire to defer the writing of their examinations at this stage, the ministry has taken a very affirmative approach with regard to the development of a strategy to provide learning support for those students who have opted to defer, and details regarding the rollout of the learning support mechanism for students who have deferred will be provided to principals and students and parents across the island in the coming days. Nevertheless, the ministry will be providing as much support to these students as can be possibly presented to ensure that they are in no way disadvantaged going forward in their preparations for the January 2022 and June 2022 examinations. I must also say that at this stage, the ministry is also well advanced in the preparation for the administration of this year's examinations, the written exams will commence on the 28th of June and run until the 6th of August.
He also gave an update on requests for reviews in relation to the 2020 examination results.
At the CSEC level, we're approximately at 98% completion of the return of the results of the reviews. At this stage, there are approximately 44 candidates who are awaiting the results of their request for reviews at the CSEC level, and only about 7 candidates at the CAPE level to have their results returned. And we are working closely with the Caribbean Examinations Council and the schools to ensure that we are able to resolve all of the requests for reviews that have been submitted to the Caribbean Examinations Council.
The Pan American Health Organization has expressed concern about the slow rate of COVID-19 vaccination in Latin America and the Caribbean, warning that controlling the virus will take years if current trends persist. PAHO Director Dr. Caricia Etienne sounded the warning on Wednesday during her weekly press conference. She said while the United States has fully vaccinated more than 40% of its population, the pace is much slower in the region.
And while it is true that vaccines will eventually help us curb the spread of the virus, progress has been uneven. In fact, today we're seeing the emergence of two worlds, one quickly returning to normal, and another where recovery remains a distant future. And the differences are stark. Only one country, the United States, has fully vaccinated more than 40% of its population. Even countries that have had vaccination campaigns for months, like Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, have still only managed to protect around 3% of their populations. And this situation is particularly acute in Central America and the Caribbean. Just 2 million people have been fully vaccinated in Central America, and less than 3 million in the Caribbean. Some countries like Guatemala, Trinidad and Tobago, and Honduras have yet to administer enough doses to protect just 1% of their populations.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Two developments from our regional neighbors now. Haiti is grappling with a serious outbreak of COVID-19. More in this Reuters TV report.
As some countries are already moving into a post-pandemic world thanks to vaccination campaigns, Haiti is grappling with its first serious outbreak, and the country has yet to receive its first batch of vaccine doses or administer a single shot. Doctors like Ronald Laroche are also sounding the alarm.
Toutes les structures de soins, publiques comme privées, sont dépassées.
All public and private sites are taking in patients. There's no room for any more. More sites must be opened to meet the needs of patients with breathing difficulties so as to avert a catastrophe.
Officially, Haiti has recorded nearly 16,000 infections and 333 deaths from COVID-19 among its 11 million people, relatively low case numbers compared to elsewhere in Latin America and the Caribbean. Yet data is limited due to low testing rates, and doctors say the real numbers are likely much higher. And local health officials are warning the upwards trend could prove catastrophic.
And finally, the United Nations General Assembly has approved a declaration calling for urgent action to end AIDS by 2030. Executive Director of the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, Winnie Banyama, said the declaration contains targets for countries.
The declaration is ambitious, and most importantly, it is achievable. It includes targets prepared by us UNAIDS using an inequalities lens. And these are targets to be achieved by 2025, halfway. The targets are inclusive, they are progressive, and will save lives if achieved. If all countries reach their targets, new infections will be reduced by 75% by 2025. The number of people dying from AIDS-related illnesses will be reduced by about 65%. If countries, though, continue business as usual, we will fail.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.